relationships, trauma, philosophy. Relationships, trauma, philosophy. Bullshit.
You gotta stop laughing.
Wait,
We can't start the episode with you laughing.
of course we can.
No, we can't.
Well, you just make me laugh all the time, though.
I do make you laugh all the time. Welcome to episode 4. And I actually thought it was episode 5, but Shelby reminded me it was episode 4. And we'll actually get to that about how I can be very certain of things in life. But I tend to be wrong, and that's why Shelby corrects me.
Oh, don't say it like that.
So, and that'll make a lot of sense when we get to one of the things in this episode. Hopefully we've got time to get to it. If we do, if not, it'll be on episode 5. It'll make sense.
I don't even know what you mean.
You don't know. It's the vegan thing.
Oh, right, okay,
it's
yeah,
vegan,
got you.
Yeah, so now Shelby knows. It's to the point where I will be like, okay, I'll be remembering, Mission Impossible. I'll be like, oh yeah, the main actor of Mission Impossible is Tom Hanks.
Mm.
And Shelby will be like, no, it's not. I'll be like, it is 100%. Like, I'll just be convinced it is, and then obviously it's not Tom Hanks.
No, it's Tom Selleck.
It's Tom Selleck. No, it's that little Tom, innit?
Little Tom.
His name evades me now. Everyone knows who he is.
Cruise.
Mr. Cruise, what's that group we walked into?
Scientology.
Yeah, the Scientology. Mr. Scientology, which we have been amongst before in San Francisco. You'll notice actually in not many, but some big cities, especially around America, but we did learn that they also have it in Australia, that you will just come across some really nice buildings and it will just say Scientology on it. And I must say the buildings are very nice and they're quite welcoming. I'm really terrified.
They're quite welcoming.
Well, they are. They're obviously good at what they do. And we were, Shelby was very scared to go in. I was a bit dubious just because you hear all these nightmares and I've seen lots of documentaries of Louis Theroux and, all the people are, there's just a lot of scary stories from there. But it did look very welcoming. There was a nice woman in there and we just went, you know what, let's do it. It'd be an interesting thing. It was like an open building. You could come in, you could read some of the book, you'd learn about it. There were videos to watch. It was sort of a walk-through thing. You weren't going to be trapped in a room and zapped or anything.
Unless you asked for it.
Unless you asked for it, which is true actually, which you did get zapped, didn't you?
Yeah, did I do it that time as well?
Yeah, you did do it.
I thought I did, yeah. Interesting. And it's interesting because it's funny that you say you can go in and learn about it, but basically you can go in and not learn about it.
It's so confusing. The videos are so... I don't know who's built those videos, but it's just explained in such a complicated way.
Yeah, it doesn't explain anything. It just goes like concept, life, reality. It's a circle. And the concept of life becomes your reality. Something like that in it. Like it's nonsense. Like there is no logic to what is being said. There is it's impossible to follow.
It really is. It was, we'd watched it for nearly 20 minutes, didn't we?
Yeah, we're none the wiser.
We were none the wiser because we wanted to immerse ourselves. Let's actually try figure out. We weren't planning to join it by any means, but we were like, let's actually try understand what the love of it is for the people who are in it. Let's actually try and understand. We're very open-minded. We still like to learn about religions and beliefs that maybe our values don't agree with, but we still want to open our minds to understand different approaches in life and beliefs. But yeah, the 20 minutes we were just even more confused. There was just you just couldn't follow it. It was just too many words and not enough sense. And then going back to the bit that we mentioned, Shelby and Zaps, just to put context to that, there was this, what is it, a stress test, right?
Yeah, it's a stress test.
It was a stress test. And yeah, you can explain, because I didn't do it because I was a bit worried. Because it sends you shocks through your hands, and I was a bit worried it might jolt my heart. Because if you don't know, I've got a bit of titanium in my heart, so I thought maybe that's not smart to do. So yeah, what did it do exactly?
Well, if you imagine, like the Tower of Terror lift, you know, like with the dial on it that goes like to the different floors. So like half a clock face, like with a tick-tock that goes from left to right. And they give you these two metal cans to hold on to. It honestly, it looks like I could make it right now with things in this apartment, I'm sure, to look identical to it. They give you these two metal cans with strings attached to this device, and then what they do is they ask you various questions about things that might be potential stresses in your life, and then if in theory, and it's supposed to send like electromagnetic pulses to you. You can't feel it, but it is like an electric wave, I guess. And if it's something that your body finds stressful, then it's supposed to shoot the dial up. But that's correlated to how, like, if you squeeze them, it sends the dial up. So I don't know how.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so if you were to give them a good, a good old squeeze, the dial would go straight up.
I thought it was actually because she was saying, right, think of something that stresses you out. Then I think she said, think about something that makes you happy. I thought you were just doing that, and then it was moving the dial. I didn't know your pressure on it would move it.
Yeah, it's like, because I think if you get more stressed, then you naturally tense. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. Whether that's how they say that it works, I doubt.
But it didn't work. Like, you were thinking of something stressful and it didn't spike, and then for like a split second it spiked, and she went, "Oh, what was that?"
Yeah.
And you had like stopped thinking about it. You know, and she, you know, to be fair, the woman in there was very nice.
She was.
She was very nice,
and she got a kid who was like smashing pizza all.
That was ridiculous.
So she got like a 3-year-old, I guess, child who was eating a slice of pizza, and he was just like full on wiping it all over her shoulder, and she was not reacting to it at all. And then eventually she was just like, kids. But like, she was just chill with her kid wiping pizza all over her.
Yeah, I was surprised how chill she was with that, because at home I can't see a mother being chill with that. Like, full on, just, you may as well just slap the pizza on the top.
Yeah.
It was grim. But she was a good representation of Scientology, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, she seemed like a normal woman. But yeah, I kind of went off piece there. I'm not sure how, but I haven't started the episode we were supposed to. So, but I think that's what makes the best episodes, is when we just fall into conversation.
Yeah.
I think, yes, I do like to have structure to, you know, make sure we, you know, don't get lost and have good talking points that are relevant. But I think the more we get lost in conversation, the better the podcast is.
I agree.
Yeah.
Maybe one day we'll get Tom Selleck on.
Maybe one day we'll get Tom Selleck, Tom Hanks, all of them on, Tom Holland, whole lot, and Tom Cruise.
I suppose.
Yeah. But what we wanted to start off today with is a very important day, which actually it won't be. Well, no, it won't be when this comes out, which we need to be mindful of that. So when this comes out, it'll be
a distant memory.
It will be a distant memory, but when we're recording this, it is International Women's Day.
Whoop whoop.
So if you have, for the women in your life, the mothers, the sisters, grandmothers, aunties, cousins and partners, and everyone else in between, do make sure you send them some love today, give them an extra hug, and support them in every way you can.
Oh, thank you very much, darling. It's very sweet. Very appreciative of the International Women's Day love.
Absolutely, it's got to be notified. It's important. My gift to Shelby is I'm going to be cooking for her tonight.
Piss off, no you're not.
I am cooking, and I said I'm going to cook for you tonight, so I'm going to take us out for dinner.
The first time, I'm going to say the first time those words have left your mouth, I'm going to cook for you tonight.
Hey, I cooked you a great lunch today.
You did cook me a great lunch today of leftovers that I made last night.
At the end of the day, did you have to lift a finger?
No, I didn't have to lift a finger, which was
There we
very
go.
nice, because I was actually quite... For once, I am actually quite busy. So that's exciting. I know in one of our recent episodes, Scott said I think it was episode 2, Scott was like, Shelby's just got a job, or she will have by the next time we do this episode, and I did not get that job. So that's awkward. But that's fine. Celebrated International Women's Day with my first kind of dipping my toes back into work, remote travelling. I mean, I've been working solidly the whole time that we've been travelling, just not for any money. So
Yeah, you've been building the pillars, haven't you?
yeah, well, that's it. Things are, what's the analogy? It's like something like you're sowing the seeds. I was sowing the seeds early on, and my garden is starting to bloom.
Wow, it was fully bloomed last week. Yeah, it's...
What are you being filthy?
I'm not. It's up to the listeners to, unpack that.
Listen, waxing needs time to grow.
Waxing needs time to go. But we'll push past that one because the mothers won't be pleased with that one.
That's fine.
No, it's fine.
Self-care.
I love how we just say the mothers. I think I've said that.
You have. You just like, it's like there's some sort of firm.
I just love it because me and Shelby are very close to our mums, and we hang out together and we go for dinners and stuff like this. And I don't know, I've just termed them as the mothers. So there's a lot of moments where I go, oh, the mothers won't be happy.
Well, because they're so similar though as well, so it's like you can make a blanket statement like that. So it's not like saying, oh, your mum not like that. Like it'd be whatever it is would apply to both, because they even wear the same perfume. They're both the most loving humans on this planet, and we love them very much. I miss them very much.
Absolutely. So, and it's nice to be talking about them on International Women's Day as well.
It is.
Two amazing women. And it is also Mother's Day, which again will be outdated by this episode. But I hope you remembered to put that out. Don't forget your mothers. And mothers, again, I found in my experience, mothers are very sentimental with cards. So even though you may see a card as pointless, as a man I can speak, I don't think they're pointless, but I think most men couldn't really care for them. But just trust me on this, mothers are very sentimental of cards. Maybe not all mothers, but I found most are. So even if you think it's not worth it, just spend a couple of quid.
Yeah.
It makes a bigger impact than you realise.
Absolutely. And if you have forgotten and you're hearing this, it's only the UK that celebrates Mother's Day on that day. I'm pretty sure the rest of the world is in May.
Oh, well, there you go. So it's lucky you're tuning in, And if you did forget in the UK, then just take her out for dinner. You can't just get her a card now. You're going to have to take her out for dinner.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. We are all over the place today, aren't we? But I love it. I don't know if we dive into this topic, as it seems a bit off-piste. What do you think, Charlotte?
You think it's off-piste or International
Well, no,
Women's Day?
it isn't off-piste. I just thought we spoke positive. Okay, let's jump in to feminism. Not that feminism isn't a positive subject. It's just
It's a meaty one, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a meaty one, and we had a conversation the other day, and it just sparked an interesting conversation. So you are listening to a new podcast called The Guilty Feminist, right?
Yes, and it's fantastic. I was cooking the other night, as I often do, and I was listening. Scott's bloody face, but he knows I love it. It's not a gender role if you love it.
No, and I do make a point to balance things out. I concede I don't cook as much as
if you clean more than me.
Yeah, well, that's what I was gonna I can't argue the cooking, but we definitely make a point to each other that we want to be a balanced couple.
Yeah.
We're not of the mind where a man has his place and a woman has his place. It's just we both get on with it, and we do tend to thrive on different things. I enjoy cleaning, I enjoy organising, so I will happily do the washing. I'll happily clean up the house. Whereas you love cooking.
Yeah, so don't like cleaning.
And don't like cleaning. So,
we definitely balance each other out, and I think it works so well, because unless you just having its closest to me, I feel like we're both happy with the setup.
I'm very
What was
happy because we're both doing things we enjoy doing.
Yeah, and it's not that you never cook and I never clean. It's just that that's
Yeah.
like where the majority tends to go. And I think that, like, why would you not? Why would you not split up tasks to all enjoy what you're doing?
Absolutely, I think it's I think it's important to do that.
Yeah,
It's definitely important.
it is. But yeah, I was cooking and I was listening to the podcast and I was just laughing out loud, wasn't I?
You were.
And I was listening to it in the gym, and that got me to my longest run that I've ever done because I was listening to the podcast, which we're going to get onto longest runs, aren't we?
We are, but this is a notable one because that's amazing. This is the longest run in your 31 years of existence.
Yeah.
This is the longest run you've ever done, and that's an incredible feat.
Well, it's exciting for me because I've run 5Ks before. I ran one 5K when I was 15 with my friends in Upton. And then you did a marathon in November and I signed up to do the 5K because she convinced me it was a good idea. I did limited training for it, but I did train for it and I went on a few runs. But yeah, 5K was the longest that I'd ever run. And we had a bit of a... totally going off on a tangent, aren't I? But... it's interesting, so I'm going to keep going. You'd said to me about running, and I made a point of, I said, well, if I need to stop and walk, then I'll stop and walk. And you didn't like that. You were like, why would you run a 5K? Why would you sign up to run a 5K if your intent is to walk? It was like, well, I don't intend to walk it. I just can't run that far. And you said to me, and it annoyed me at the time, but you're absolutely right, as you often are. Annoying. That is not right.
Click that. I hope right. This is another thing. Spotify, we've got we flick this thing on our app where it'll clip up the Spotify episodes, and it apparently through its AI it figures out what they think will be the juiciest bits. Every clip from every episode so far has just been Shelby speaking.
And that's because I'm more interesting.
So I'm not on board with that.
Oh, baby. Well, I'm sorry. But still,
I can't remember what the point was for saying that. I've already lost track.
Well, it's because you're always right.
Because I'm always, so Spotify, listen to this and put me forward on all the clips.
But so you said, it's mind over matter. You just, step one, start running. There isn't a step two sort of thing. And I didn't like that at all because I'd never ran more than, I'd done the Couched 5K app, never completed it. The longest that I'd ever ran was 2 minutes. And I was like, how could I possibly run 5 kilometres if I lose my breath and I have to stop running after 2 minutes? But I took it on board and I went to do one of the training sessions for this 5K and I just started running. I thought, just breathe in, breathe out. I'd heard, I think it's Paula Radcliffe counts when she runs. So I was just breathing in, breathing out. And because my breaths were slower than seconds, by the time that I'd counted to 100, say, I'd already done more than 2 minutes. And so I just kept doing it. And I managed to run for nearly half hour straight. At a slow pace, granted, but that really opened my eyes then. I was like, actually, it is mind over matter. Because I told myself that I can only run for 2 minutes and then I lose my breath. But then I tried. And I had Scott's words in my head. It's mind over matter. You just keep running. Like Dory just keeps swimming. And I managed to just keep going. And that's how I managed to do the 5K in November. And then this Monday, I ran... How far did I run? 5 miles?
I think it was 5 or 6, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was close to 10k. It wasn't quite 10k. But yeah, so that was... and that was in part, so with your words in my head, but also, going back to the point, the Guilty Feminist podcast, because it was so funny and I thought, I'm just going to keep listening to it, I'm going to keep going.
That's great. There's a lot of things that I had not heard you say before, so that was...
Aww.
It's very, it warms my heart to know that my words hit.
They did.
I think I can say a lot of words, and I don't.
They annoyed me at the time, if you remember.
You were pretty stropped off about that.
You don't know my fitness level.
Yeah, you were. Yeah.
It's easy for you, Mr. Marathon.
Mr. Marathon. Well, Yeah, it's but it is so much in the mind, and I could dive into running talk all day long. But,
Well, I feel like we should talk about your running.
what now? Okay. We keep on going off this feminist piece, but okay. Okay, so for my run, you would have heard in the last episode. So I've run a few marathons. I think I've run 5 altogether. And my dream is to run 100 miles. I've run for just under 10 years now. And the dream, it's always been to run 100 miles. And that's always seemed like an impossible dream. But in the last few years, it's become real in my head. And definitely this year, I really am on the journey towards it. Because I always said to myself, I'll do it around my 30s. Because interestingly in running, your mid-30s, are actually your peak in running because your respiratory system is the strongest. So I've started to take steps forward. I've run a bunch of marathons in the past. And I said, hey, it's time to rock up the distance. So I did a 50k, which is 31 miles, the other week. There was a couple of challenges with this. One, it was 5 more miles than I'd ever run before. 2, there was quite a bit of elevation. And 3, it was in a hot country. So 3 new things I was contending with. To be honest, it wasn't the distance intimidating me. It was the environment. It was the elevation and heat. Because those things, I tend to keep to as much as flat as possible. Because elevation just kills you. When I say elevation, I mean obviously hills as well as being up high. If you're always going up steep hills, it can just murder your calves and it can just knock you out for the rest of the run. So that was the thing that intimidated me most, especially when I looked at the times of the leaderboard. They were all much longer than I would expect it to take, because an average marathon takes 4.5 hours. So, throw on another 5 miles, you shouldn't be really taking more than 5.5 hours. But, the majority of the leaderboard was taking much longer than us. So, I realised, oh crap, this elevation is going to be a serious, and the heat is going to really have an impact. So anyway, we got there. It was a cool experience, as it always is, getting into the event. There's a lot of quirky people there, people who take this very seriously. It was a 3 a.m. kickoff. 3 a.m. kickoff. And you had till 12 o'clock. So you had over 9 hours to complete it. For me, I was just all about just getting it done. There was no speed I was trying to go. I was always going to run my pace. And sometimes it's quicker than other people, sometimes it's not. I tend to finish in the sort of the top. I tend to be in sort of the first 2 quarters. I guess the top third I tend to be in. Anyway, I got on with it. And the pace was great. I must say the first half of the race was fine. All the running, probably the first 15 miles was it was it was just easy. It was just very straightforward. The only frustrating thing was my vision was difficult because it was up high. It was in the jungle. It was dark. It was raining. Also, in Malaysia, clouds will just sit in the city, so you can be amongst clouds. It was very you couldn't really see your hand in front of your face. So that disrupted me a bit, and I was worried I was going to sort of trip over a couple of times. Once you have one bad fall in a run, if you go over on your ankle, hit your knee hard enough, it can mess you up for the whole race. So I was worried about that. Ended up actually taking my glasses off. But I feel like I'm talking a lot here. But anyway, I got it done. Shelby was on. There was 4 water stations. Shelby was on the third one, where I wanted her to be, so she could equip me with nutrients, take stuff off me, give me stuff, apply things, because you have to be quick. It's like a pit stop. Sometimes you stop at them, sometimes you don't. So I didn't stop off at all of them. I already planned before the race which ones I was going to stop off at, and that in those moments, you know, you might go to the toilet, you know, you might get some extra food items that are there, you might drop off some stuff, you know, there's a couple of things you might want to do, maybe just stretch. But anyway, got it done, got all the way there and back, because it was sort of one way forward and then it was just sort of one way forward and one way back. The hardest bit was actually probably, I don't know where it was, but when I passed you, that next stop, coming back from that last stop. So the final checkpoint, running back to Shelby's checkpoint, that was the hardest bit, because it was all uphill, it was dark, and I'd already been running for like 17 plus miles. So that was rough. And what was interesting is that everyone stopped to walk, which really shocked me. Even some people who stopped to walk within the first 10 miles, which for me, like, fuck are you doing? Like, you know, I understand people might, you know, crash out in the last 5 or 10, but I'm sorry, if you're walking in the first 10 miles, then you're in the wrong race. You know, you shouldn't be doing that. If it's a, you know, 31-mile race and you're already walking the 10 miles, you've got, you know, it's a run, okay? It's a run. You know, when you get into some big distances like 50, 60, 70, yes, there are going to be times you're going to walk. I appreciate that. But if you know, in the first quarter, you shouldn't be walking. So I didn't really get that. But I refused to walk. And I ran the entire thing. And anyway, to speed the conversation up is that I went all the way. The last 10 miles, I just put on the music, a bit of old school Black Eyed Peas. I was dancing away, as I felt great, because I was so excited that I could officially call myself an ultra marathon runner once I completed this. So in the last 10 miles, I was like, I've got this in the bag. So I was like dancing around people, like clicking my fingers, smiling at people, waving. It was good fun. Then the last 5 miles went, you've got to get serious, because then I was like, oh, wait a minute, I'm starting to really feel it. So the sort of fun side went for a moment, and then I just paced it home. And I found out that I was 10th.
Came 10th place.
So again, I was never aiming to be on any podiums. Again, for me, racing isn't to race anyone. Run isn't to race anyone. It's just for me to achieve, you know, goals within something I enjoy and I love. It was just really cool to actually become 10th in my age bracket, and I thought that, you know, they called out my name. I was like, wait, what? And I got an award for it. So that was really cool, you know, to become 10th. You know that. And my pace felt great, so, you know, at no point was I running too fast. It was on my pace. So it was 6 hours 25, so that was 2 hours longer than I've ever run before, 5 miles more than I've ever run before, and also the hottest country and hilliest run I've ever done before. So going back to, you know, you saying about already deciding what your limits are by saying I get out of breath in 2 minutes, and you know, if I know I'm get out of breath for 2 minutes, I'm not going to be able to run 5 minutes. That's probably one of the biggest thing you learn with running is you don't know your limits, and you know, I don't care. You don't know your limits until you push yourself. And what's really interesting about running is you may train. So for example, I'd done a marathon before, you know, 26 miles. But I'd never run 31 miles. So every step after that 26 mile was a new limit for me. I'd never ran that far before. Again, 2 hours longer than I've ever raced. Every minute that I did extra was a new limit for me. I never knew I could do that. So, and I knew I could have carried on, you know. I don't know how long I can carry on, but I knew I could carry on. Don't get it twisted, I was fucking knocked out at the end of it. But I still felt good. I didn't feel like dying, but I was like, okay, I felt it more than a marathon for sure. So yeah, I would just, you know, challenge, you know, if you already feel you know your limits in fitness, I would really challenge that. And, you know, if you're exercising regularly, then fair enough, you will really understand where your limits are with weightlifting, with running, with whatever you're doing. But if you don't, you really don't know your limits, and you can only figure them out by going out there and doing it and pushing yourself every day. So I feel like I've taken quite a bit of the episode up there, but anyway, I'll leave it there. I do have one more. I'll just say one more thing. I do have one more race, another race coming up, because again, I'm on the goal for 100. My goal is to achieve 50 miles this year and achieve 100 miles next year. And my next race is going to be 43 miles, which is quite a big jump, which will be in Japan, in an island called Suo Oshima Melanic. So yeah, we're going to go down into Japan for my 30th, and it's on my 30th, it's on 21st of April. So I'll be doing again the longest race I've ever done, the longest time in a country I've never run before. So it's going to be interesting. I know that one's going to be a seriously tough one, but I know I can do it. It's now getting pretty serious, but I know I can definitely do it. So I look forward to that, and I can't wait. And then we'll move to the one after that, which I'm eyeballing a few, but I must say with races, it's very hard to incrementally go up. For some reason in running, it jumps up, like the races jump up by like 20 plus miles, which is really annoying because it's just doesn't allow you to incrementally build your resilience. So it can be quite tricky to find sort of, 10-mile jumps or 15-mile jumps. It usually is like 20, 30-mile jumps in the races. So I have to look quite a bit. So anyway, I think that's enough said there. And yes.
Well, darling, I just want to add that I'm so incredibly proud of you because it's a huge achievement. It was an absolute privilege to be on that journey with you and to see you absolutely smashing your goals. You should be very, very proud.
I appreciate that. No, I do. It was emotional because, again, I've never worked this hard for anything in my life. I'm a hard worker, but this, I've committed over, just under 10 years. And I've never been able to call myself an ultra-marathon runner. And I've always dreamt of it. And
now you can.
And now I can. So that, it was pretty emotional. I did tear up in the last couple of miles, so yeah, it's a good feeling.
You're amazing. And something that's probably worth mentioning to people, because we tried getting an air tag, because we thought we'll stick an air tag on him.
Oh yeah.
And I'll be able to see where he is, and because it was, well, for one, taxis are not easy to get in Malaysia. I think we've mentioned that in the last podcast. They are not easy to get at all. We did get one to the race, but my plan was to get a taxi then up to the stop point, which is, what was it, 16k in, something like that.
Yeah.
So I obviously wasn't going to walk it. But I couldn't get one. And then I managed to get a lift up with one of the people working at the event, but he was like, no, and it was a half-hour drive. So, he was like, we're not going to be able to bring you back to the start line. I was like, fair enough. But it was just important for me to be there to be able to, give you anything that you needed and all that. Which I had everything on you in case I couldn't. But then it was a worry getting back to the start. And anyway, so regarding AirTags, long story short, they're useless. We went in the Apple store and they're like, well, if it connects to a closer iPhone, then you won't be able to find it. Right. Oh, it also needs access to, to be near the phone. I was like, what's the point? Why do people buy it and stick it in the blooming suitcase then? So we ended up, Scott found this app called Life 360, I think it's called.
Yeah.
Free app.
Yeah.
And I was able to track exactly where he was on the run at all time. It pops up with a little bubble of his face. And you can set it so it notifies you if the person's moved to a new area. It was even telling me how fast you were running. I don't know how accurate that was. Wow. I don't think it was accurate. But it says running or walking as well. It knows roughly the speed at which you're walking. So I could see him and knew when he was coming. However, I missed, because it looked like he was ages away on the app at first, and then he must have sped up because I guess it was changing the elevation and all that. So I was on the phone to my mum when you first arrived at the
you were
pit stop. I was like, oh my god, he's here. But yeah, Life 360, it's a great app. Highly recommend it. Great for theme parks with your kids, or your friends, whoever.
It is great. I would highly recommend it, and also it breaks that barrier of a lot of these tracking devices. they have an allegiance to one phone, like iOS only or Android only, whereas this app is all, and also it can track other cool things like if someone's had I think not a sudden fall, but if someone's had an accident in a car, I guess it sort of gets the sudden stop from phone. So it actually pinged me when you drove in the car.
Yeah, it picks up driving initiated.
Yeah, it says when you drove, and it said when it finished.
Yeah.
So it pinged me, and it'll tell me when. So when it did that, I knew you'd be there.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that was good. That was really nice. So yeah, it's a great app, and I know people aren't always for tracking, but especially when you got kids, or just with partners, especially traveling. It's just we don't have it on all the time, but for like obviously that example was great. If we're going to like you said, a theme park, if we're gonna maybe go
shopping centre even
yeah, exactly.
if it's the massive one like they have here, or well, and just as a safety feature as well, I think you can do something where it'll ping you to say I'm not safe, or
yeah, it does an SOS in it.
Yeah, I think it's just handy.
Yeah, which can, if you pay the premium, it can actually send contact for emergency services as well. So it's very good. That wasn't an ad, by the way.
Yeah.
We don't have.
There's so many things that we promote that
yeah.
people need to start paying us.
They do, and I look forward to the day where they do.
Yeah.
So I think we've sort of jumped about a bit, and again, we have lots of content to share. But I think maybe we just start jumping into it. Do we jump into the feminism?
Well, I feel like I should because we started it.
Yeah, okay.
I will summarise. So basically, the Guilty Feminist podcast, which I came across. There's Leeds. I think it's called Leeds International Festival of Ideas. It's like Li-Fi, something like that. I think it's an annual thing. But there's a Leeds ladies meetup group on Facebook that I joined because I thought, it's a good way to network, meet people and all that. And someone posted about this talk that was going to be on. It was called Are We More Lonely? It was a topic on loneliness. And it was, bringing it into COVID and all that, and how people stay connected to others. And on the panel, there was the lady who runs the Guilty Feminist podcast, whose name evades me. I feel like it's Florence. It's not Florence. Francis. It's Francis. Yeah, Francis. Oh, she's got 3 names. I should know this. See, I'm terrible.
She's got 3 names.
Yeah, like I'm Shelby Taylor story. Yeah.
Well, why do you need to know them?
Because that's how she's known.
What, her entire name?
Yeah, she's known by a name. She's known by a name. Yeah.
No,
like Benjamin Francis Leftwich, or like.
No one does that.
Of course they do. Loads of people do. Let me think. Sarah Michelle
Usually
Gellar.
It's the first and last name, isn't it?
Yeah, but some like Sarah Michelle Gellar or M. Night Shyamalan.
Tom Cruise or Keira Knightley.
Well, I've just told you
Jeff
to.
Bezos. Yeah, it doesn't. Right, that's odd.
Okay. Well, they always start the podcast by saying, I'm a feminist, but, and then they say something that's slightly unfeminist. So I feel like mine is, I'm a feminist, but I can't remember the woman who runs Guilty Feminist podcast name.
There we go.
So that's how I went along to this talk and she was on it, and it's, can you see it? Deborah Francis.
It's Deborah Francis White.
And I so confidently said her name was Francis.
Yeah, so you got a middle name.
Deborah Francis White, there we go. It's a great podcast, you should listen to it. So I was going along to this talk in Leeds City Varieties, which is a great venue. If you're in Leeds or around Leeds, just see what's on that night, because we just randomly went to see Nish Kumar there.
Yeah, he was funny.
Yeah.
And it was funny how we got the tickets as well. They were like, there's going to be, just so you aware, this ticket has, you'll find this with tickets, they have obstructed view. And they're like, you do have an obstructed view by pillar. And we're like, can we see it? They're like, no, sorry, you can't go in at the moment. And I'm like, oh, well, that's going to be quite bad. But anyway, we gave into it, and it wasn't.
It was like as thick as a pole dancing pole or something, was it?
It was even thinner than that.
It was nothing.
It was like a stick, and it wasn't really in the vision.
It didn't affect our view in any way.
No,
it was a great gig.
Yeah.
So yeah, great venue, and that's where the talk was on. And this Deborah Francis White was on the panel talking about loneliness. It wasn't a Guilty Feminist recording, but she was on it. And I had not heard of a Guilty Feminist podcast, but just as it happens, I went with my mum and we were in the bar before getting a drink, and there was a girl sat on her own, and I was like, oh, let's go and let's see if she wants to sit with us. So we did. I should say woman. She was younger than me. That's why I said that. That's not very bad feminist. It was a woman sat alone in the bar, and anyway, we got talking to her. And funnily enough, she was also from Southampton, which is where I'm from, and she lived literally right across the street from me, and she was in the same tutor group as my cousin Harrison. And we got talking, and she said that she hadn't heard of this Facebook group that I'd found out about it from, so she joined that group, and she told me about the Guilty Feminist podcast. This was a couple of years ago, and I just never listened to it. I don't know why I didn't, because it sounds like it's right up my street. It's totally up my street. And anyway, I've just been downloading podcasts. I think probably because we've been podcasting and I've, diversified my listening. And so, yeah, stuck it on, and I thought it was great. I was laughing away at it. And then, the next point. So there's a guy in the audience, and he just so happened to be the one that took his female friend to it. He was listening to it. And I was telling Scott a funny story about this guy, that she was kind of like roasting him because he was on the front row, but he had good crack and everything. And Scott said to me, "Oh, why is there a guy there?" And it really hit a nerve with me. I was like, "What do you mean? Why is there a guy at a feminist thing? Like, feminism is a man's issue too." So I went on a bit of a rant about that, didn't I, darling?
You did, yeah. It did hit a nerve, and I get why. But yeah, it did hit a nerve with you, and you were irritated by it. But it wasn't there was no intention with it to not be, I don't know what the word is, but
you weren't judgmental at all. Like, you're just like, "Oh, is there a guy there?" Like, you didn't say it in like
not judgmental. Yeah,
he's like, "Oh, a guy at the Guilty Feminist podcast," which, as I'm sure you can imagine, it is very female led.
Yeah, I was just surprised the guy was in the audience. But I understand what feminism is, and it's not a female problem, it's an us problem, and it's about everyone just getting equal rights. It's not about women getting more rights, more opportunities. It's just about us all being on a level playing field and getting fair opportunity and to achieve more, which it clearly isn't at the moment. It is very,
it's a man's world.
It is a man's world, and so you picked me up on it, and no, it's a fair comment. I'm happy we had a bit of a conversation on it, and now I'm probably not fully glued into feminism. Like, I understand the basics of feminism, but I'm sure there's a lot more to understand about what it stands for and what has been done in the past and what is currently happening. I think what is a shame, as many good things in the world, is there's always the few that ruin for the most, and that's the extreme people of anything. So the extreme feminists, that's how I've digested the word feminism, where it's been more sort of clipped up on TikTok, and clips of where a woman has gone on a massive rant to someone, and it's been clipped up in a bad way.
It's like that quotes angry feminists, isn't it? Like, because they hate men, and they it's really sad that that's like the extreme image that's put out, and that's obviously it's the same in any like you said, like I'm a feminist vegan, and people might make very strong assumptions about me based on that, and I doubt that they will be true. It's frustrating that that's like media perception, and that I feel like feminism has got sadly negative connotations to the word. I don't believe, obviously, I believe feminism's an amazing thing. I'm a very passionate feminist, but I am same with vegan. I'm conscious that those terms are quite quite emotional to some people, and they view them as the extremes within that group.
I think you hit it on the head when we were chatting. It's just education. And I think when you said that, I was like, yeah, that's so right. I think it is just when you're more informed of something, then you just, you know, even though there's that extreme videos out there and there's, you know, maybe not fair representations of feminism, then you know, you're not gonna take that on when you have a full understanding of what it is, what it's about, what is it achieving. You're just gonna, you know, brush past those. So I think that's what's lacking. And I can definitely admit I don't, you know, I've not read a book on it, I've not had a course, you know, I've not had a conversation probably longer than, you know, 10-15 minutes on it. You know, I've never been in really a situation where I would be having a deep discussion about feminism. So yeah, I would definitely say I'm one of those people. I wouldn't say I'm dismissive of it and say, oh, it's not good in any way. I'm very understanding, and I know it is important. But in regards to knowing the ins and outs of it, I think that's something that I'm missing.
Well, I think we all, like, you know, I'm not an expert in it by any stretch. Like, I think everyone could do with more education on these things, because it's not taught. I took it throughout my masters. I did a course on feminism, but it wasn't accessible to me until university, or easily accessible. I suppose I could have gone out my way to find courses on it. But yeah, I think, you know, ignorance is like the root of all prejudice. So like the people that believe that feminists are angry and men hating, and people that believe that vegans are gonna all throw red paint at butcher shops and go in and yelling at people eating meat and hitting people or like whatever, you know, it's ignorance to the actual. It's just focusing on that one section, isn't it? Any type of prejudice I'm talking about now, like it's education would hopefully eradicate that. Like, yeah, we all just need to do our best, I think, innit? Like, you know, one of my favourite quotes is by Maya Angelou, and that's do the best that you can until you know better, and when you know better, do better. Like, you can't know what you don't know, and like, yeah, I'm sure there's things that I do or say that may be construed as anti-feminist, even though I consider myself to be a very passionate and vocal feminist, but maybe not enough to some. So I don't know, you know, we've all just got to keep learning and keep trying.
Well, I think that, you know, I think that piece that you just mentioned, I think that's always very tricky, isn't it? I think that's just up to, you know, what the guidelines are and what a feminist is and what a vegan is. For example, you know, one's veganism is, you know, not eating, obviously not eating any meats, but also not having honey. But then other vegans are, yes, honey is fine. And other vegans, well, say, you know, honey isn't fine, meat isn't fine, and I can only eat just raw vegetables. So I feel like there's always different, you know, more stringent ways within anything, and I think that's a shame when the argument becomes between those people, when they're all doing such a good job already, and they're all, yes, they might not quite meet at the end, but they're meeting everywhere else by that last mile. You know, why don't we spend our energy not on that last mile? You know, we're all in the same room, we're all, you know, got hands together. Why don't we go to the people who are not even, you know, in this room? Let's focus our attention on those people. So I just, you know, I think it would hope that, you know, for feminism that we do the same for sort of having infighting. I think, you know, that's almost like just trying to choose a leader. My way is the best way, my way is the best way.
My feminism's the right feminism.
Yeah, I think we should be less that, you know, I feel there's more than enough guidelines that everyone can agree on, and goals that, aims that everyone can agree on in veganism and in feminism, that the majority can just go and just, move the message forward. So yeah, I think we should definitely read up on it. I think we should have more conversations on it. I think, if you haven't had these conversations yourself, and maybe even, maybe you turn your nose up at it. Maybe, maybe it's not something you've even thought of to think about, or maybe it is something. Maybe it's something you've dived into a level where you have and you've done a full dissertation on it. Then either way, I think, more knowledge is good, and I think it's always worth us, even if you just go read one blog today.
Yeah, for sure.
Just go, go open up a bit more to it.
Yeah. And just briefly, I think I'm definitely guilty of this, of being, consuming what you agree with. Yeah, that confirmation bias, I think it's called.
Yeah.
I am so guilty of, just watching a video that agrees with my ideas.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to diversify that. It's going to irritate me to sit and listen to someone talk about something that, really put across their point that I totally disagree with. But I think that's an important part of learning as well. It's acknowledging that not everyone thinks the same way, and I think learning what other people think can even solidify your viewpoint. And really, if you're watching someone who thinks the total opposite of you, and then you can come up with a good convincing counter argument, and that's also progress.
Absolutely. There was a really interesting social media documentary, wasn't there, on Netflix? I wish I could remember the name of it, but it trended when it came out. It was about Facebook specifically, and basically how the algorithm works to put engaging content in front of you, and just keep you engaged within the platform. And it had some really interesting examples, and some scary ones. It was called The Social Dilemma.
Oh yeah.
Did you watch that?
No, but I'm familiar.
Yeah, I'd watch that again. It's really interesting. It's a bit freaky. But I love that they did that, I love that they finally, someone shared a much more... I think they did a really good job at articulating something confusing in a very simple way. I really like that, that they did that, and it opens more eyes, it allows people to, see how social media does its thing, and, you can then make an informed decision whether you engage with it or not. But one of the really scary examples they made was I think it was in Burma, and basically every mobile phone that a local would buy in Burma, Facebook was a default app that was downloaded.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was a default app, which I didn't know if that was a Facebook. I can't remember if that was Facebook. I think that was just the mobile providers did this. But anyway, the reason why that's interesting is because what happened is the militia in that area saw this as an opportunity, and they obviously, they plastered themselves on Facebook. They leveraged it, as a lot of terrorist groups do. Leverage social media. And what happens with the algorithm, as with social media, is just like what you said. It provides you with more what you believe in. And that could be something as wacky as you think Trump is actually a toad, and, if you keep engaging in stuff about saying Trump is a toad, you will eventually, if there's a group that exists that believes there's a toad, that Facebook group is going to be promoted to you. And those articles are going to be promoted to you. And what's scary about that is that then the content you're seeing about Trump versus the content someone else is seeing about Trump is completely different. And this was the same thing that was happening in Burma, is the content they were seeing was different between each other because it was based on whatever they, believed in. So if they believed in this militia, what they were saying, they were only getting the content from the militia because they were thing. You know what? I agree with this, and that's what happened. Is you know, a big enough portion of people did sort of buy into a lot of you know, the values of this militia, and basically they alluded in the documentary that you know, Facebook played a part in starting off the civil war again, which is actually happening right now. And one of the sad reasons, you know, we can't go there, which is a place I would love to go to and always wanted to go to. It's a beautiful country, and I know that because I had a good friend in university that lived there, and I've always wanted to go there. But yeah, it's a bit dodgy at the moment. So yeah,
My waxing lady was from there.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
all right. Oh yeah, didn't she say don't go?
Yeah, I was like, oh, lovely. Like, because I don't know, I didn't click in my head that I knew that about the war. I was like, oh, you know, we might visit there. She was like, I wouldn't. See, pure ignorance of me. See.
Well, it's not ignorant. Again, it goes back to that quote, right?
Yeah, do the best you can until you know better, and when you know better, do better. True. Yes, now I know better than to say to someone from Burma, hey, I want to go there.
Exactly. You know, we know better now. And again, like in Mexico as an example, if you read, you know, if you look up, is it safe to go to Mexico? UK, at least, you know, on the government website, you know, as the government websites will tell you, you know, these countries you shouldn't go to. You know, it does say Mexico's a bit dodgy and it's known for its cartel. But we went there and, you know, we didn't have that.
It's safer than the States, like, let's be honest.
Oh, without a doubt. It is safer than the States. There's no country on this earth that I have felt more uneasy on than the States.
Yeah.
There's been, yeah, the States is a scary place. Yeah, and of course any country has its scary bits. The UK has its scary bits. You know, you're not going to, you know, bad people are around the world, but, you know, if you just stick to the nice bits, which is the majority of Mexico, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
So really, yeah. So you can, you know, what's the word? You can debate what they're saying on the, not debate. You try and challenge what they're saying. Whereas Burma don't challenge it because there actually is a civil war going on.
Yeah, obviously don't go somewhere where there's an active war zone.
Yeah, don't go Burma. Don't go Venezuela. Yeah, there's probably a couple ones you don't want to go to, but even Iraq, I've heard quite a lot of people going to Iraq and it being really beautiful and it having a great experience.
Your friend from the run, he was from Iraq, right?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, I don't know if he's been back since, but he lived there. Yeah, but so again, you would never think that you'd think, oh God, you couldn't go Iraq. You know, I know we've pulled out of there now, but you know, I know there's a lot of militia groups, but yeah, I've heard of quite a few people now go and say it's great. So yeah, you challenge these things. Yes, be smart, but the world isn't as big and scary as I feel. It just makes it out to be.
We all need to make our own minds up about things, don't we? Not just believe the news that we've been presented as we've established.
Yeah, and that's a whole topic on its own, isn't it?
Yeah.
But
well, I feel like, I mean, we have got a lot more content to cover, but I feel like maybe we start to sum it up. What do you think?
Yeah, I think we do. We like to keep these to the hour, and yeah, it's funny, we cover about 3 bullet points on our document.
We literally just got past the intro.
Yeah, we've got about 20 others. So anyway, lots more content for next time. So very much look forward to that. And I think, you know, this was an insightful conversation for me, and
Me too.
definitely inspired me to, you know, read more into things I don't know. And feminism's definitely going to be, you know, my focus to look into more, and we'll have discussions and learn more about that, because you definitely know a lot more than me.
Well, and I've got a lot to learn as well, so I look forward to going on that learning journey with you, baby.
Absolutely. But it's been a wonderful time, and we actually have a different ending, because we did say last episode that we hate the ending, so we changed it, so let's give it a go. We thank you for taking a break from your day to get balls deep with us. Until next time, remember, stay ballsy.
Dive deep, but don't forget your snorkel.
Balls deep.